There is an infinite amount of cash at the Federal Reserve. There is an infinite amount of cash at the Federal Reserve.
Good morning, Bitcoin. Today is Monday, June 8th, 2020. My name is Thomas Hunt, and this is the World Crypto Network. The price of Bitcoin is up 1.9% in the last 24 hours, with a last of 9,680, a high of 9,814, and a low of 9,463. That's $1 for 10,331 Satoshis. Volume is at 3,303 Bitcoins, about normal for a Monday. The margin continues to lean long, with 86% of the market heading that direction. Bitcoin dominance is at 65.72%. And now, a reading from Walden by Henry David Thoreau. There is commonly sufficient space around us. Our horizon is never quite at our elbows. The thick wood is not just at our door, nor the pond, but somewhat is always clearing, familiar and worn by us, appropriated and fenced in some way, and reclaimed from nature. For what reason have I this vast range and circuit, some square miles of unfrequented forest for my privacy, abandoned to me by men? My nearest neighbor is a mile distant, and no house is visible from any place but the hilltops, within half a mile of my own. I have my horizon bounded by woods all to myself, a distant view of the railroad where it touches the pond on one hand, and of the fence which skirts the woodland road on another. But for the most part, it is as solitary as where I live on the prairies. It is as much Asia or Africa as New England. I have, as it were, my own sun and moon and stars, and a little world all to myself. At night there was never a traveler past my house, or knocked at my door, more if I were the first or last man, unless it were in the spring, when at long intervals some came from the village to fish for pouts. They plainly fished much more in Walden Pond of their own natures, and baited their hooks with darkness, but they soon retreated, usually with light baskets, and left the world to darkness and to me. And the black kernel of the night was never profaned by any human neighborhood. I believe that men are generally still a little afraid of the dark, though the witches are all hung, and Christianity and candles have been introduced. Yet I experience sometimes that the most sweet and tender, that the most innocent and encouraging society may be found in any natural object, for even the poor misanthrope and the most melancholy man. There can be no black melancholy to him who lives in the midst of nature and still has his senses. There was never yet a storm, but it was aeolian music to a healthy and innocent ear. Nothing can rightly compel a simple and brave man to a vulgar sadness. While I enjoy the friendship of the seasons, I trust that nothing can make life a burden to me. The gentle rain which waters my beans and keeps me in the house today is not drear and melancholy, but good for me too. Though it prevents my hoeing them, it is worth far more than my hoeing. If it should continue so long as to cause the seeds to rot in the ground and destroy the potatoes in the lowland, it would still be good for the grass on the uplands. And being good for the grass, it would be good for me. Sometimes, when I compare myself to other men, it seems as if I were more favored by the gods than they, beyond any deserts that I am conscious of, as if I had a warrant and surety at their hands which my fellows have not, and were especially guided and guarded. I do not flatter myself, but if it be possible, they flatter me. I have never felt lonesome, or in the least oppressed by a sense of solitude, but once, and that was for a few weeks after I came to the woods, when, for an hour, I doubted if the near neighborhood of man was not essential to a serene and healthy life. To be alone was something unpleasant. but at the same time conscious of a slight insanity in my mood, and seemed to foresee my recovery. In the midst of a gentle rain, while these thoughts prevailed, I was suddenly sensible of such sweet and beneficent society in nature, in the very patterning of the drops, and in every sound and sight around my house, an infinite and unaccountable friendliness all at once, like an atmosphere sustaining me, as made the fancied advantages of human neighborhood insignificant, and I have never thought of them since. Every little pine needle expanded and swelled with sympathy and befriended me. I was so distinctly made aware of the presence of something kindred to me, even in scenes which we were accustomed to call wild and dreary, and also that the nearest of blood to me and humanist was not a person or a villager, and I thought no place could ever be strange to me again. Mourning untimely consumes the sad. Few are their days in the land of the living, beautiful daughter of Toscar. I think we'll stop there, but it continues on beautifully. Walden by Henry David Thoreau. It's a good one. Funny thing about Walden, a lot of people read Walden and then they go visit his pond and they think that the message of Walden is that Walden Pond is magical. And that the place you want to go in nature, the place where one man can really get away and be himself and not have the pressures of society and exist on his own, is Walden Pond, and that pond had some kind of special significance. But really, it could have been any pond, right? The idea was nature. The idea was getting back to nature, escaping from society. And at that point, they hardly had the society that we had. They didn't have the phones all the time, connected to the internet all the time, Twitter, constant new information, everything happening all at once. They had a slower society, and even then, Thoreau was like, enough of this slow society. Thoreau could see where it was going. He was already like, it's time to go to the woods. He also wasn't a big fan of paying taxes. Henry David Thoreau spent lots of time in jail for not paying taxes because that's what they used to do to you. They had debtors' prisons and so on and so forth. He also wrote another really good book called On Walking by Henry David Thoreau. And like the title says, it's a book about walking. I know you're saying that sounds really stupid, but you haven't really thought about walking that much, and he has. Especially if you combine that with the Buddhist idea of walking meditation, the idea that even doing something as simple as walking or perhaps even marching in your background, in your thoughts, you can clear it out. You can have a meditative experience. I did some meditation yesterday on the Insight Timer app, and it was a mantra meditation. Said, I already forgot the Sanskrit translation for mantra. It was something like word. Mon means word, maybe word spirit, but I wouldn't bet on that. Anyway, you just repeat your mantra over and over again. And what was neat about the teacher in this meditation class that I'm taking for free on Insight Timer, and you could take for free on Insight Timer, or maybe you pay $20 a year. I don't care. It's not that much. Anyway, the meditation class is about mantras. And at first, he had us, chanting our mantra aloud, embarrassing. Then he had us whispering our mantra. And then at the end, he asked us to repeat the mantra over and over again inside our heads. And I thought that was different. Might want to be something you want to try out even. Repeat the mantra over and over again inside your head. Oh, water is good. And now, perspective. This haunting underwater sculpture park is a tribute to the 2 million African slaves thrown into the sea during the transatlantic slave trade. The sculptures are at the bottom of Molierne Bay and only accessible by scuba diving, snorkeling, and glass bottom boats. And now, slaves who became sick during the unbearable conditions of the Middle Passage, or who were otherwise judged to have no commercial value, were often thrown overboard, which makes the fate of British slaver Edwin Colston's statue quite fitting. And I think the video might be in my feed somewhere, so we might have the video later on. But there it is in Bristol, UK, the seaside town in the south there, kind of, in the south. There was a statue. I can't even see it. Let me zoom in. There was a statue of Edward Colston, and he was a slaver. And one of the things the slavers did is on the passage over, if they had any slaves that seemed weak or sick already or so on and so forth, and they weren't feeding them or treating them well, they would throw them overboard. So yesterday, after a long time, after a lot of debate and a lot of, you go to this council and you talk to them and you talk to them, why can't we get rid of this statue of a slaver? The people got rid of it themselves and they threw it in the water. And it's just a beautiful alignment with what they used to do with the slaves and what they've now done with the slaver's statue. So a little bit of justice, even if it is only inanimate, against a statue. So this is Los Angeles, protest today, maybe yesterday, not sure. And let's see, lots of volume. Oh, not a lot at all. That's interesting. But you can see the incredible size and distance of the protest. This is down, I think it's Hollywood Boulevard. It's the Walk of Fame where the stars are. There's a Scientology giant church on the right. There was another couple theaters as the shot starts again. The Hollywood Theater there on the right, and just the incredible number of people filling the streets, the signs stretching on seemingly forever in Los Angeles, all peaceful. Otherwise, they wouldn't be able to stand there like this. They wouldn't be able to. Zoom doesn't help, but still, just to try to give you an idea of the size of the protests. Something's got to change. Did you know the World Crypto Network has its own audio podcast, and it's now up to date, even including yesterday? So check out the World Crypto Network audio podcast, where you can listen to these words without all the pesky visuals. And check out World Crypto Network store at worldcryptonetwork.store. You can get the World Crypto Network mug or the popular Treasures Don't Float t-shirt. I've been told it's very early numbers. Certainly Teespring hasn't paid us any profits yet, but I've been told that we've sold 2 Treasures Don't Float t-shirts. So somewhere out there, 2 people just might be wearing the brand new Treasures Don't Float t-shirt from Philippe and supporting the World Crypto Network. You can get yours at worldcryptonetwork.store. And now, the Bitcoin news. Bitcoin price 75K within weeks. Recovery mimics 2013 700% bull run. Bitcoin/USD is perfectly repeating its run-up to all-time highs in 2013, price analysis reveals, despite mixed feelings about 2020's outlook. Peterson eyes an almost perfect 2013 correlation. Cane Island Alternative Advisors Timothy Peterson unearthed an almost uncanny similarity to Bitcoin in 2013. Tracking Bitcoin's price recovery from its lows of 3,600 in mid-March, Peterson noted that its recovery is almost exactly tracked price action from 7 years ago. As a result, he argued, if Bitcoin can keep up the copycat move, Bitcoin topped out at 1,300 in 2013, and a similar 700% bull run at today's prices would give a target of $75,000. Are we weeks away from $75,000 Bitcoin? Maybe. Analysts predicts the next bull run will send Bitcoin to $150,000. BlockFire's co-founder believes a bull market will return, seeing the Bitcoin price rise 1,400% to hit $150,000, and Ether and other solid altcoins making even more impressive gains. Whoa. Not seeing why, but that's very good. Bitcoin bull run. Not a return to cryptomania. Only some of the alts will go up. He doesn't think the entire market will see a recovery. Chinese buyers are kickstarting a generational housing market rally, and Bitcoin may be next. Ooh. Why Tether has printed 5 billion USDT this year. Tether CTO Paulo Arduino says over-the-counter trading desks and crypto exchanges want dollars on hand, and this is driving up demand for Tether. All right. Question answered. Bitcoin remains on the hunt for 10K as holding sentiment gains strength. Investors remain confident in Bitcoin's long-term prospects despite the cryptocurrency's struggle to pass 10K, according to a key on-chain metric. The 7-day moving average and the total amount of Bitcoin held in exchange addresses declined to 2,313,000 on Sunday, the lowest level since December 2018, according to data from blockchain intelligence firm Glassnode. Exchange balances have declined by nearly 13% over the last 4 months, a change indicative of a shift to a long-term holding strategy. This could be related to more investors hodling their funds to cold storage and controlling the keys themselves. Dun dun dun. The price of Bitcoin is up 1.91% in the last 24 hours, with a last of 9,682, a high of 9,814, and a low of 9,463. That's $1 for 10,328 Satoshis. Volume was a little low for a weekday at 3,296 Bitcoins trading hands. The market continues to lean margin long, with 86% of the market heading that direction. Bitcoin dominance was at 65.73%. But you can't defund the police, say the people who have defunded our schools, defunded state and national parks, defunded environmental protections, defunded Medicare, defunded food safety, defunded the postal service, defunded the scientists, defunded the arts, defunded social services, defunded food stamps, defunded after-school programming, defunded mental health services, defunded public transportation, defunded housing assistance, defunded disability benefits, defunded college grants and loans. But sure, let's not touch them. In 2012, Newark, New Jersey decided to dissolve the police force entirely, officials created a new non-union force from scratch, where training had a new emphasis on de-escalation tactics and community policing. It worked. Tracking COVID-19. For the second day in a row, the number of COVID-19 confirmed cases in Nevada has increased by nearly 200 in the past 24 hours. The DHHS reported this morning that 4,632 tests were performed yesterday. Meanwhile, in Seattle, protesters are being denied bail, perhaps for political and revenge reasons. Watch as the police take it out on innocent protesters who've done nothing but take a few pictures. Coronavirus deaths surpass 400,000 in Brazil, and they've found the solution. They're going to stop publishing their coronavirus data. That's right. If you don't know what's happening, you can't say anything about it. Check out Bunker Boy, a great new parody from Randy Rainbow. He's really outdone himself this time. Interesting use for the president's new fence. Going out of business signs. All Trump merchandise, 30% off. Operators are standing by. And actually, ironic, this was a Photoshop of the fence, obviously, although it would have been funny if they did it in real life. But later on, the protesters used this fence for the exact same thing, setting up a memorial wall, pasting cardboard flyers and more to the fence, transforming it from a monument of hate to a monument of hope. It's just that easy, you know. Life gives you lemons, you make lemonade, right? Here's a great infographic, a time lapse from World War II, showing the Allied invasion of Normandy. On the right-hand side, the orange troops are the UK, the blue troops are the US, the red troops are Canada, and the black troops are Axis, but we know that, well, it's essentially German. I suppose Italians, though. Axis troops. So you can see the Axis troops are spread out here. A large force of Allied troops has landed on the beach. Let's see what happens. Allied troops are spreading out. You'll see the blue forces are starting to clear out the edge of the cliff here, starting to really take control of this back section. And again, remember the key here is holding the line. The forces continue to hold the line. Once the line is held, the blue forces are clearing out the flank, and then they're going to march up from the left-hand side and sweep around and through. Once you've broken the line right there, the black Allied, the Axis forces are then encircled, and it's time to surrender. The blue forces extend, the black forces retreat, and that's what happened in World War II. So there you go. You can watch it in real time. It's a pretty fast little animation. Quite a lot happening, though. Like, it was much, much more than this, but it's like that great Reddit video, the history of Japan, and then later he did the history of the whole world, and he does it in like 7 minutes, and he nails it. But yes, a lot more happened than just this, certainly. But this is one way of looking at it. Burp. This is a protester in Seattle. They're citing a Star Wars meme that they found on her Facebook as proof that she tried to kill police. As the original poster says, they're scared. This is a dystopian totalitarianism nightmare. They say the Star Wars meme is something about stormtroopers. It's a Land Cruiser with the word, "This machine kills fascists." There are several bloody stormtroopers lying on the ground. The letters ACAB, which apparently is well known, but I've only learned in the last couple of days, apparently means all cops are bastards, ACAB. So very strange to see Star Wars satire and jokes being used as evidence against a protester in Seattle. Keep an eye on that. Rob Reiner believes that the tide is turning. famous actor and writer, creator of Spinal Tap and more. He says George W. Bush will not vote for Trump. Romney and Murkowski won't support him. Colin Powell will vote for Biden. The tide is turning. The ship is sinking. Only rats stay on board are aiding and abetting a pathologically lying, mentally disturbed criminal. Tough stuff from Rob Reiner there. Here's kind of an ironic graffiti, something we're not a fan of. It says, this is Robert Peel, the founder of British policing. Because of him, police in the UK aren't armed. That's why the police in the UK killed just 3 people last year, while the US police killed 1,536. So writing all cops are bastard on him may undermine your case, as may the murderous hammer and sickle. So here's a statue of Robert Peel, the founder of British policing, founder of Scotland Yard. And you see, for some reason, perhaps ignorance, they've defaced his statue with ACAB. But actually, this is why the police in the UK, at least, are nonviolent, mostly. Here's a protest in Manhattan. The OP can't get over how they're getting bigger and bigger every day. This is happening in Uptown Manhattan today. She's never seen anything like it. And you can see it just seems to go and go and go. This is a 30-second video. Let's see what happens. I can't see it at all. Yeah, good stuff. On June 6th, 2020, Seattle Police Department Detective J.S. Vradenberg taunted nonviolent protesters by resting his hand on his service weapon despite pleas for them to stop. Shame on you, officer. And you can see the pictures right there. He's got his hand on his gun, and you can see his badge in the close-up picture. You can see his name. Hey, listen to the World Crypto Network podcast. Now on iTunes and maybe Spotify and Spreaker and all kinds of other places where you can listen to podcasts. A veto-proof majority of Minneapolis City Council members will announce today their commitment to disbanding the police's embattled police force and the entire department following the killing of George Floyd. Arrest the cops who killed Breonna Taylor. There's another issue where the police broke into this woman's house and killed her while she was in her bed. Her name was Breonna Taylor, and they should arrest the cops who killed her. This is pretty funny. Let's see if we lose our place. That would be terrible, so let's zoom in. Here it is. This guy's writing to the CIA. He's got important information. I'll just read it slowly. I'm a journalist in the UK, and I've been given information as to what Antifa are using to communicate in secret. Can you please follow me back so that I can DM you about it? And the CIA follows them back. They're following 31 people now, so the CIA really wants this information. They write him back, thank you so much, Mr. CIA. They are using something called Updog to mobilize. What's Updog? Nothing much. What's up with you? And then in the next panel, oh no, it didn't work. In the next panel, the CIA blocked them. You are blocked from following the CIA's tweets. So, very funny. If true or not, very easy to fake as well. But excellent joke, very funny. And as the guy says, if I mysteriously disappear, this will be why. So, going for it. Now back to the news. PJ Evans, if someone at my job murdered someone and continued working at my job, I would quit my job. Me too. And this is awesome. We have to play it. We have to play the whole thing. As Sahar writes, we can triple the funding to all libraries based on this ad alone. And this is an ad from the Nashville Public Library, so it might not apply to you. But we can only hope that our own local libraries will adapt this same service and replay this fantastic commercial. Let's go, libraries. Here we go.
Yo, MPL, let's kick it. Curbside, baby. Curbside, baby. All right, stop. Follow signs and listen. The library's back with a brand new invention. Curbside is where you get your books. It's citywide, so just take a look. Out to the street, we'll bring your books to you bravely. Listen to the rules as pertains to your safety. Roll up, look for the sign. Stay in your car, but wait if there's a line. Call up with your number on the card. Tell us what you're driving in your name. It ain't hard. Flash it. Hold up your ID. Show it through the window to the employee. Pop it. Open up your trunk. We'll drop in the books. Slam dunk. If there was a problem, yo, we'll solve it. Check out your books while my DJ revolves it. Yeah. Uh-huh.
What a great local commercial.
Side, baby.
What about my return?
What about returns?
Returns are book drop, baby.
Book drop, baby. Curbside, baby. So there you go. Fantastic work by the Nashville Public Library. Probably lost us our ad rights. Oh, well. There it goes. Another 50 cents down the drain. So, but excellent work promoting libraries, giving us a little bit of a laugh on the tough day like this. There it is. There's the video. Bam! Oh, that feels good. Let's watch that. The slaver statue into the water. They later interviewed some of the people in the crowd. They said they'd been waiting their whole life to see that. They never understood why their town, a seaside town, Bristol in UK, had a statue of a slaver. And there you go. Pretty satisfying. Into the water. There he goes. So good riddance to bad rubbish. It's what he deserves. I've been waiting all my life for this moment, he told me moments after. Beautiful. And in Montreal, we're continuing to weigh the values of worldwide protests against police brutality versus some Jonathan Hamel's ability to get a haircut or go to the gym. Yes, Jonathan, worldwide protests against police brutality are more important than your personal desire to go to the haircut and the gym. People are risking their lives. Some things are worth risking your life for. Other things are haircuts and going to the gym. So yes, there's a difference. Here it is. Just like in Hong Kong, they've transformed the president's wall into a memorial and a protest wall. They've completely... It was a symbol of oppression and hate, much like the Berlin Wall, torn down in Berlin, rebuilt in America, and much like the Berlin Wall, at least one side of it, covered with graffiti, covered with hate. The people of West Germany were allowed, well, there were snipers and stuff on the wall, but still there was graffiti and things, and now the wall is completely covered with art and graffiti and other things on both sides. But you can see right here, this is what you do with walls. Trump tried to keep the people out, and the people have now used it as a symbol of their protest. Powerful. Just keeps happening. This is in South Carolina. They have him down on the ground. They're beating him. Punch, punch, punch. Why is that happening? Why are they punching some guy in the street? And they have two of them. This guy, maybe he's trying to get his officer to stop. He didn't have to punch him. Lady in the video agrees. Let's watch it again. So they're trying to arrest him. And the officers have him on the ground. It's 2-on-1. The officers should have more than enough force at this point. See if we can go full screen, maybe get it a little bigger. It's pretty far away. It's a landscape view. Portrait view, sorry. And then he's punching him. Look, there's a kid. The kid can't understand.
He's a pusher. He's pusher like he's a police.
He ain't have to punch him.
He just hit him again. He hit him again. He hit him again. Wow. And again.
He's a boy.
Yeah. Move her car.
Move your fucking car.
What about your wig?
Right on the guy, not the officer. You got the wrong guy. The one that's been hitting him is the officer. Wow, look at that. Oh my God, he hit him again. There's 4 of them there. There's 4 of them there, and he just hit him again. Wow. This might be the worst one I've seen. And they arrest his girl.
We're not get back. Right.
All right, this was in South Carolina. The tweets from yesterday. And we're going to play the whole... Oh, man, what the fuck? Man. Just one more time.
Mommy, what the fuck is doing?
Oh my God.
2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7?
He's a pusher. He's pusher like he's a police.
He ain't have to punch him.
Eight, 9,
Oh wow.
10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15.
He's a boy.
Yeah. Move her car. What about your wig?
He's hit him 15 times so far. Continuing pressure on the neck, continuing to slam it against the pavement. 2 officers on him. They've hit him 15 times in the head. They've attempted to punch him 15 times in the head, but they have him on the ground. A 3rd officer comes, puts his knee on the neck. Same thing, pushes him to the ground. They've got 3 officers on, 16 hits in the head. Why is he still punching him, though? 4 officers on him, and now it's time to arrest the bystanders, the witnesses. Her crime would be yelling at a police officer who was attempting to murder her husband or boyfriend.
Renee, get back. Right.
Y'all can't see right and wrong. The police are on the wrong side. Truly horrifying video from South Carolina. When is it going to stop? Manned fighters are set to face off against autonomous drones next year, and the manned fighters won't stand a chance. The drones are able to do maneuvers that require G-forces that would kill humans, so the drones will win, and this will probably be the end of manned aircraft, the beginning of drone aircraft. Orange Book writes, to change the subject, paradise is when you are free to read and learn, deeply and slowly, unconstrained by any external validation or deadline, driven solely by your intellectual curiosity. That sounds nice. Here's a Confederate statue toppled in Richmond amidst the protest. And Stone Kettle writes, and I agree, fuck the Confederacy. Fuck Confederate ideology. Fuck those who glorify the Confederate States of America. Fuck those who are nostalgic for the Confederacy. Fuck every treasonous monument to the Confederacy. Fuck the Confederate flag. I agree with that. Why haven't the cops who killed Breonna Taylor been arrested yet? Arrest the cops who killed Breonna Taylor. Stone Kettle writes, responding, Jason says, why is it you never see anyone fly the Union Jack in honor of their loyalist heritage, or statues of Benedict Arnold? Yeah, what about that? You just don't see that. Shout out again to Servant of the People. Check out the Ukrainian sitcom about a history teacher who becomes president. It's funny, inspiring, and still has a hint of absolute dread. It's almost a shame they haven't made more seasons since the lead actor, the comedian, was elected president for real. Crazy, huh? But you can watch it on Netflix. It has subtitles. You got to pay close attention, though. You got to read fast. But it's funny. It's cute. Mitt Romney, Black Lives Matter. The first Republican to say this, and the first Republican to march with the people in the street. The first major political elected official, Senator Mitt Romney, marching with the people. Black Lives Matter. Here he is saying it.
And brutality, and to make sure that people understand that Black Lives Matter.
One more time. Trump hasn't said it yet. I want to hear it from a Republican.
Finding a way to end violence and brutality, and to make sure that people understand that Black Lives Matter.
Once again, I watched that Romney documentary on Netflix. He's not all bad. I know what a lot of you are thinking right now. Biden, Romney. Go across the lines. You know Biden wants to do it. He's practically a Republican as it is. He's always been in the middle. He's always been middle right. Biden, Romney. How about that? I'd like to see it. Joe Biden. Donald Trump is the worst possible person to lead us through this moment. Agree with that. The NYPD budget is $6 billion. It's $3 billion in Los Angeles, and yet teachers have to buy their own supplies. Not in many schools, in all schools. Come on, teachers always buy their own supplies. They volunteer after work. Police departments get overtime. They get paid time and a half. if they have to stay even a minute after work. Why is it better to be a police officer than a teacher? Seems like it should pay more to be a teacher. $6 billion for the NYPD. That's more than the city spends on health, homelessness, youth development, and workforce development combined. It's almost if we took that money back and used it for those other things, maybe we wouldn't have so much problems. Huh. The most Bristol take so far. Well, they're saying we should have gone through the proper channels to get him in down. Well, we tried that for years and were ignored. So now, he's in the proper channel. They took care of that statue of a slaver in Bristol, UK. Here's another shot of the Hollywood protest in Los Angeles. Has more than 20,000 protesters now. Check that out right there. Hollywood, 20,000. Still continuing. This is the scene outside the U.S. Embassy in London right now. Crowds stretching on and on and on. The error in the May report made the jobless rate look 3% lower than it was. So actually, if you look at it, it's still climbing. It continued to go up. It's not good news, but because of the fake report, it looked like it went down. They're sticking with the fake number. Tom Hartman highlights a absolutely astonishing editorial destroying Trump from one of the world's most conservative publications, the Financial Times. It's called America's Battered Moral Standing. And it says, even after Trump loses and goes away, America won't return to normal in international eyes, that we've lost much, much more than that. Powell, Mullen, Dempsey, 3 former chairs of the Joint Chiefs of Staff have rebuked the President of the United States. So have Generals Mattis and Allen. America's most highly respected former military leaders are speaking out. This is unprecedented. This goes to show how much trouble we're in, how serious the situation is. Diana Lucy writes, there aren't Hitler statues scattered across Germany, and somehow we know about the Holocaust. Tear down the statues. And it's enough of these Confederate monuments, most of which were put up 20 or 40 years after the Civil War. They're not even really monuments to the Civil War. They're actually threats to African Americans during the Civil Rights Movement to let them know who was still in charge. And that's why the slaver in Bristol, taking him down, is such a powerful movement, because enough of these statues of slavers and Confederates. We don't need it. Chelsea Handler, comedian, writes, we spend around $650 billion a year for the military. Imagine if we spent half of that instead on programs in our country to help the living, instead of just continuing to increase our ability to kill. Seth Rogen joins the movement and says, arrest the cops who killed Breonna Taylor. This tweet is really getting around. This is Seattle right now as the protesters are forming a line and the police are getting ready to spray them. This officer comes over to separate bicycles as a makeshift barrier. Apparently it looks more casual. You can hurt people by pushing them down on parts of the bicycle that way. But you can see there's a bit of a scuffle over here. There's some kind of cop is messing with one of the protesters. There's something wrong with his bike. A guy in red comes all the way across, takes away the sign, seems to try to mediate the situation, what the police officer would be doing. And the police then respond by getting out the spray. They're then bear macing the citizens. There it is at close range. The police again attacking protesters in Seattle of the proper use of that bear mace. Here's another. Let's see. A man drove through 11th Street and hit a barricade. He exited his car and flashed a gun. Police say they now have the man in custody. Let's check out the video from Seattle. Oh, this guy right here. So this car right here in black, that's this car in black in the front. It's kind of being attacked by some of these protesters in black. Drove into this barricade. That's what's on the front of his car. Then he gets out and he has a gun. It's like an Uzi. Where the hell is he going? Where does he think he's going? Wow. All right, so maybe he just brought the gun with him, but looks like he's going to try to walk out of there through the protests and leave the car that he crashed behind. So, wow, and he was heading towards the police lines as well. So I don't know if he meant to start more trouble. They say the police claim they have the man in custody and they have the gun. So crazy in Seattle. There again is the long shot of Los Angeles. Incredible size of today's protests. Look at all the signs. Look at the proximity, though. Trump's latest poll is 14 points behind Biden among registered voters in the CNN poll. His approval rating is down 7 points. That's a lot. The Seattle Fire Department approached the fires in Capitol Hill protest tonight and then left without extinguishing them. They did the same in Minneapolis. They let it burn until it was out of control because it's good PR for the cops. There again is the statue thrown overboard, juxtaposed with an image, a woodcut of the slaves being thrown overboard. Crazy, huh? And here's more footage from Seattle of the police using force against unarmed civilians. Well, those are fireworks, but you can see the tear gas. I wonder if it is the protesters saying hold the line. Are they starting to get barricades?
I'm Captain Allen of the Seattle Police Department. I am now issuing a public safety order to disperse, and I command all those at 11 and Pine to immediately disperse, which means leave this area. If you do not do so,
you gotta love a police department that launches tear gas and then sends out the message to disperse. That's a classy way to go. Launch the tear gas, then send out the message to disperse. That's the way you do it. And they said 2 days ago in Seattle, the governor or the mayor said that they were going to ban tear gas and that they were going to have a very progressive policing. But now you can see the skies almost entirely full of tear gas. You can see nothing else in Seattle, where they had a very violent protest last night, thanks to the help of the police. It was nearly an hour, as Jennifer says. The police attacked resource tents and filled the neighborhood with tear gas. A lot of people inside their houses, inside their apartments, were also affected by tear gas. This happened in Hong Kong. The police would blindly tear gas people on the street and end up tear gassing nursing homes and other houses and apartments that were right above the tear gas. Even if you close your windows, the stuff gets in there. And back to our original topic today. Florida sets a new single-day record for coronavirus cases since reopening the economy, with over 4,000 in 3 days. Here we go. Coronavirus on the rise. Jam Gates says, I wonder if they realize how badly they just lost in Seattle. They unleashed everything they had, and they were held by a small group of protesters. Tomorrow, the council votes on whether or not to force Durkin to resign. Seattle is not afraid of the SPD anymore. And that's the problem with fighting protesters with such offensive weapons. The protesters outnumber the officers. We've already detailed how Hong Kong protesters started off small and became fully operational protesters by the end of it. You'll imagine other protesters will see this and do it soon and return with their own plywood shields, with their own umbrellas, with their own fire teams, ready to send back the ordnance shot at them. You can't fight fire with fire when you're outnumbered, and the police are outnumbered. Breaking news, Minneapolis police force to be disbanded. That's right, disbanded, defunded, disbanded. It's over. You're all fired. Get the hell out of my office. And here's a video from Seattle where the protesters are becoming more adept and adopting strategies that we've seen in the Hong Kong protests. Watch as this protester deflects a tear gas round like Mary Poppins. This is in Seattle, in America, by the way. Boom! Right back.
Oh, fuck! That shit, like, hits you every time.
Let's watch it again right here. Boom. They practically catch the tear gas round in the blue umbrella right there in the front. So, blue umbrella just around the curve. Boom. Caught right in midair. Amazing, huh? One more time. Oh, that's the way you do it.
That shit, like, hits you every time.
Yeah, you've got to have a big, heavy gas mask if you want to stand up against tear gas. This is at 11 and Pine Street in Seattle. Police are on public announcement system saying, I don't know what your intentions are with your umbrellas. And this is a force which prepared with full riot gear. This is the police force of the capitalist state, which needs a violent police force to repress movements. And you can see the police have showed up with full riot shields as if they were part of an ancient phalanx, ready to attack with their spears. And they're wondering why the protesters brought umbrellas. Good stuff, huh? $20 says that the Seattle Times puts the dumpster fire on the front page news. And you know, not the clouds of tear gas so thick we couldn't see through them. And the Seattle police have covered the street with gas.
Table right now. Protesters are throwing things back. There's a table right now.
Ooh, there's a table.
This is what's being just looked into the street right now. Protesters are throwing things back. There's a table right now. This is what's being just looked into the street right now. People are trying to kick it back.
Wow. This is from Seattle, the United States of America. The police are attacking the protesters with an incredible amount of tear gas. Truly excessive. Shot after shot after shot. The protesters are trying to throw them back. They did have a table in the middle of the street. Looked like the table did block 2 or 3 of the tear gas. And likely the protesters are getting gas masks and so on and so forth. This is when it starts to get real, right? Meanwhile, on Mars, Elon Musk's Cybertruck Mars edition with the SpaceX package. That's right. It's got its own satellite, so you can call home from the convenience of your SpaceX truck. It's got some up armored tires there. I hope it has a breathing system inside. But there it is, SpaceX truck on Mars. Quite an amazing truck. Mark Zuckerberg continues to act like an oligarch, using Vladimir Putin's own definition of what an oligarch is: an immoral business leader who uses proximity to authorities to receive super profits. Seems a lot like our pal Mark. Seattle police are shooting members of the press. Shame on them. We have video. We'll find out. The man who drove his car into the protest today and allegedly shot a protester was simply booked for an assault investigation. So as we've seen, other protesters held without bail. The man who brought a gun, drove into a barricade, and may have shot a protester was only booked for assault. So it seems like we need to defund and disband the Seattle PD. They're just asking for it, just like Buffalo, New York. Over 1,000 academics and scientists have signed an open letter calling on the government to revisit its stance on the lockdown. Restrictions should continue until the virus has been eliminated entirely, they say, as living alongside it means constraining the economy for longer. Over 1,000 academics and scientists warning you about the coronavirus. Last night, the Oakland police murdered one of this woman's former students, one of her babies. They shot him 40 times. She doesn't have the words yet except, "Fuck the police." And if you're a teacher and you're not saying it true, too, you aren't fighting with us, then you ain't shit. So I don't know the details of this, but apparently a man has been murdered in Oakland. This is a scene from Seattle, 11th Street and East Pine, after the first deployment of chemical agents, pepper spray, smoke, blast balls, etc. Perhaps one of the more apocalyptic scenes I've ever witnessed. I never thought I'd be wearing Kevlar and a gas mask at home. Re-elect Trump this time or next time, Republicans will pick a dictator whose death squads will throw dissidents from helicopters. Is a hell of a message. It's pretty strange. Trump's Homeland Security official believes that George Floyd would not have been spared if he was white. Talk about missing the message of all the protests and everything that's happened and all the other murders and murder after murder after murder by the police. And the guy says, oh, if he was white, they would have killed him too. That's just great. What can you say? You also got to love these Wall Street people. On Friday, the market went up, buoyed by a jobs report that said we went to down from 19% unemployment to 14 or 13% unemployment, right? Really down. But in reality, we went from 19 to 16. We hardly went down at all. But since they released the fake report on Friday, they got a 800, 900 point bump. And today, the market is standing and keeping the bump, even though the information was false. It's great, huh? So you pump it up with fake information, and then it doesn't even go down after we find out the information's fake. It's almost like the whole thing's fake. And back to our pal, the coronavirus. Florida opened early, and now the last 4 days, Florida has the most new cases of any 4 days in the pandemic. That's right. Look at the chart. The most new cases of any 4 days in the pandemic in Florida. California opened too early, and now Not just the highest, but California is the highest average number of new cases in the pandemic. Very high. They have 2,700 average new cases every day now. At May 8th, at the start of reopening, they had 1,700. So they've almost doubled. Texas. The last 5 days have seen the most new cases of any 5 days during the outbreak in Texas. Texas is at its highest average number of new cases so far. Average new cases in Texas today, 1,600. April 20th, start of reopening, 800. It's almost like it's doubled. Check out that chart. That's a chart going up and to the right. Arizona, the most new cases in 5 days of any 5 days. On May 1st, when they reopened, they had around 310 cases a day. Now they have 750 cases. So the virus has doubled in Arizona. North Carolina, the most new cases in the last 3 days out of any days. When North Carolina reopened, they had around 420 cases a day. Now they have 1,000. So it's doubled in North Carolina. South Carolina, the most new cases in the last 3 days out of any 3 days. When they reopened, they had 150 cases a day. Now they have 370 cases a day. So the coronavirus is back. That's 6 states that had moderate and well-controlled outbreaks during April and May that are now experiencing rapid increases in cases that could signal community spread. California and Texas are at their worst point in the pandemic, and they have the most people in the United States. Arizona, North Carolina, South Carolina, each not just at the worst moments of the pandemic in their state, but new cases double what they were at reopening. The pandemic, the coronavirus, is on fire in California, Texas, Florida, North Carolina, South Carolina, and Arizona. So I guess ignoring it didn't work, huh? I guess pretending that it would just go away. We're tired of being inside. We got to get haircuts. We got to go out. We got to go to bars and we got to gamble. We got to go to the gym. You're keeping us inside too long. Oh, being inside is what really hurt us more. You know what really hurt the economy? Being inside so long. The virus is back. Get ready. Americans have not fully grasped that what we are doing is not what we are not doing what countries have. This is very hard to read. I'm not sure why. But we're not doing what other countries who have returned to normal have done. Check out this piece in The Atlantic. America is giving up on the pandemic. Businesses are reopening. Protests are erupting nationwide. But the virus isn't done with us. What are they saying? Wag the dog. You may be done with the past, but the past is not done with you. Tear gas is way more dangerous than the police let on, especially during the coronavirus pandemic. And I think, as The Onion said maybe a week ago, or might have been a similar Onion called The Shovel, they said, whose great idea was it to fire a gas that affects your lungs during a respiratory pandemic? Don't you think that's just going to make people cough more? Don't you think that's just going to spread the virus? And then let's put them all in a cell afterwards and make sure that these people who have come from all over to protest all sit in the same cell all night spreading the virus. Whose idea was that? Seems like a bad idea. And the internet mocks the Trump White House as they're apparently mulling over having a presidential address on race. As the internet says, what's next? A speech on sexual content or sexual consent? And we made it. We made it to the top of the news. Yay, we survived. Yeah, so pretty tough footage today from South Carolina, seeing the police hit that guy in the head 16 or 17 times. It's tough to see the coronavirus come back. You know, I was really hoping that the science was wrong and everybody was right and we could just go back out into the streets and pretend that nothing happened and everything was going to be fine. You saw yesterday, Las Vegas locally was trying to beg people not to call Las Vegas a super spreader event. But I suppose the die's been cast and we're going where we're going on that one. So we'll just have to see how it all turns out. For now, it's still good. President is allegedly still removing the National Guard. The military option has been downplayed, shouted down from within the administration, saying that military on American streets is not a good idea. The protests do continue, though. The Minneapolis Police Department has been disbanded. That's impressive. I think the Seattle Police Department might be next. The Buffalo Police Department seems to be begging for it. And as we've shown, there was already success doing this idea in Newark, New Jersey. You take the money away from the police. You start a new nonviolent force. Let's see, where's the tweet? It's right around here. Here it is, right here. In 2012, Newark, New Jersey decided to dissolve the police force entirely. Officials created a new non-union force from scratch where training had a new emphasis on de-escalation tactics and community policing. It worked. So similar to what they have in the UK, where most of the police are non-violent and there to help you. It's probably what we need in the U.S. You do keep kind of a SWAT team in reserve, but for serious crises only. And you don't just use it at the drop of the hat the way they're using it in Seattle. These were peaceful protesters. They were tear-gassed, so much so that you couldn't even see anything on the street. Complete lack of visibility from the tear gas. But the virus is back, and it doesn't care that you were tired of being inside and that you thought it would all be fine. The pandemic is on fire in California, Texas, Florida, North Carolina, South Carolina, and Arizona, with more likely on their way soon. But that's about it for this episode on the World Crypto Network. Check out worldcryptonetwork.store, where you can get our amazing new Treasures Don't Float t-shirt. I'm told that only 2 people in the entire world will have this t-shirt. I'm going to have to order one myself. Then there'll be 3. You can also check out the World Crypto Network podcast on Apple iTunes, Spotify, Spreaker, all kinds of other places where podcasts are served. And I'm making a special effort this week to try to update it every day after I do the show so that we can have up-to-date audio versions of the show that you just watched. So check that out on Apple Podcasts and wherever else podcasts are listened to. And try to give us a good rating on there, too. They have lots of ratings on podcast apps, thumbs up, star ratings, like and subscribe, all that stuff. We're about out of time for today. The price of Bitcoin is up 1.97% in the last 24 hours, with a last of 9,674, a high of 9,814, and a low of 9,469. That's $1 for 10,337 Satoshis. Volume was low for a weekday with 3,358 Bitcoins changing hands. The market continues to lean margin long, with 86% of the market heading that direction. Bitcoin dominance was at 65.68%. Exciting articles today say the price of Bitcoin could rise to $75,000 a coin, or even $150,000 a coin. Meanwhile, others say Bitcoin could go to $6,000 or even $1,000. No one knows. Until next time, bye-bye.